I wanted to talk today a little bit about what if you can't breastfeed? What if you've tried and despite everything that you've tried, it's just not working. Breastfeeding is just not working. One thing I hate to say is that a mother gives up, because in a sense, I don't think it's giving up. I think a mom decides that enough is enough. Like, I've done my best, we've tried, and it's not working. And what's most important is the baby and myself, my emotional state, whether the baby's being fed and growing properly, and also the baby's emotional state. Like, is breastfeeding becoming just this major stressor? Because if breastfeeding is a major stressor, it's not going to work anyway. And I'm probably I'm probably different than a lot of lactation counselors, because I've done both. I've breastfed and I've bottle fed or formula fed, and I know what it's like. I know that no matter what amount of training and no matter what is presented before you, if you feel that it's not working, you're going to reach for that formula. And there's nothing wrong with that. My job, I feel, as a lactation counselor is to equip you to succeed and to be able to breastfeed for as long as possible, for as long as you feel that you've given that you've tried, you've really, really tried. And if it's only for a couple days that you breastfed, that's better than nothing. And every mom, I don't know, I've said this in many other videos, it really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you breastfeed or you formula feed, use cloth diapers or disposable diapers, use medication or use oils. It doesn't matter. It doesn't determine what kind of mom you are. It doesn't determine whether you're a good mom or you're a bad mom. In fact, I think there are people out there that shouldn't be parents, but it's not because of how they've chosen to feed their child. And one of the things I mentioned, and a lot of times I have said that I make videos based on sometimes what I see and what I hear. And I watched someone recently, and she was talking about how much she tried breastfeeding and it just wasn't working, and how she just felt so alone and like no one out there understood. And it just, it brought tears to my eyes, because, that's the problem. That can be the problem in the field that we work in. The field that I work in is that you have to be so careful when you're working with a mom that she knows that you're there to help her with whatever she feels she wants to do. And if she wants to try and keep trying, then you're there to help her keep trying. If she decides that it's not working, then you're there to support her and let her know that what she's done is great, and that feeding her baby formula is not the end of the world, and it does not determine her as a mom. I still question, why do we get so upset? I remember crying with my first son every single time I give him a bottle of formula. And I felt, it wasn't that I don't know that I felt a failure as a mom. I think I felt partly a failure as a mom, but I think a lot of it was I really wanted to do it, and I couldn't. And no matter how hard I tried, no matter what I did, I couldn't do it. Now, for each child, it was a different scenario, and I made it a little bit longer. My first child, the first is always hard, and it's all new. So my first son, I made it to about 10 weeks, I want to say, breastfeeding. And it was a struggle, but it wasn't, the breastfeeding experience wasn't what was tough. It wasn't milk supply that was tough. It was that I took birth control, and that dried up my milk, and I didn't know it would, and no one told me that I could build my milk back up. I didn't know that. Had I known, maybe I would have done things a little bit different. But then with my second and my third and my fourth, I had other challenges. Going back to work, tongue tie, baby being in a NICU, just all kinds of other challenges that really, when they're presented, are really hard. And you do the best you can, and you give your best. And when you know, only you know when it's time to stop and move on. And I don't like using the word give up, because I don't think it's giving up. I think it's moving on. I think it's, okay, we have to move on. We have to get past this. I have to put my feelings aside and do what's best for me and the baby. And I can't think about what other people think, or if I failed, or any of that. I just have to move on. And a lot of times people will say, well, and we do teach it, that back in, many years ago, they didn't have formula, and moms would have to feed with the breast. So, we've said, like, okay, they'll talk about how, what would the human race be if women didn't breastfeed? And while that's true, we have to recognize that infant mortality was really high back then as well. So there were still women who had trouble with breastfeeding, and there were children who died of malnutrition. A lot of times it probably wasn't, in fact, it's still happening today. I got the opportunity to go to Africa and to teach classes, and I got to see and hear of situations, and women there did not have, there are a lot of women, they don't have formula at their fingertips. They don't have that luxury or that option like we do. And so when breastfeeding doesn't work, when the baby isn't getting enough, when mom worries about it, whatever the case, whatever challenges mom faces, do you know what she feeds the baby? She feeds the baby rice. Maybe they'll do goat milk, or maybe they'll do find some other type of food. They have something called fufu, or like pounded yam. These things are really thick, and they'll feed their babies this instead of formula. They'll ground it really small, make it liquidy. The problem is babies will still die of malnutrition, because that does not provide what the baby needs, whereas we have the option of formula. So if we cannot breastfeed, we can always get formula, and we can formula feed, and we have that option without worrying that our child is going to die because they're going to die from malnutrition, because we don't have the options available. I, for one, am very grateful that we have that option, because there are a lot of situations in which breastfeeding is impossible. Yes, I'm an advocate for breastfeeding. I don't like formula, but it's not because of formula. It's not because of what formula stands for, what formula does. It's more of formula is really hard on your baby's stomach, and that's what I hate about it. It is still really hard for them to digest, whereas breast milk is a lot easier for them to digest. And the reason I hated it, and I still don't like it, I guess hate is a strong word, but I don't like it, is I experienced it, colic, my child being sick constantly, just the tummy issues. All right, I apologize, I got interrupted. So I guess one of my biggest issues with formula was, like I said, the issues with the stomach, the constipation and colic and all of that kind of stuff. That's really been my dislike of formula, but that isn't why I love breastfeeding so much. I guess the reason I love breastfeeding so much is just that time that you get to spend with your child. And I had 4 kids, and I feel like when you're breastfeeding, it doesn't really matter, I guess, but that was just what I wanted. It was just what I wanted, and I know it's good for the baby. And I think breastfeeding, it was so out of, like, nobody was doing it in the 70s. When formula came out, like, people started using formula instead of breastfeeding, and so breastfeeding really got out of, like, no one talked about it, and it just formula feeding became the normal thing. And so when I became a breastfeeding advocate, when I became a lactation counselor, it was to educate and teach moms about breastfeeding, to let them know there is that option, and to help them through challenges that they might have, because there are a lot of challenges that you'll be faced with that you can overcome. And sometimes you can't. Sometimes it's just too much. And, you know, it's hard because as a, you know, breastfeeding specialist, you want to help that mom be able to breastfeed. But you have to really look at her, and you have to really know her, and you really have to talk with her and find out what she's feeling, what she wants, and then what is best. Because sometimes what is best is formula. You know, sometimes that is what is best for mom and baby. And as a breastfeeding, you know, lactation counselor, I may be opposite of a lot of others who are, to me, it's like tunnel vision. If you're just like, breastfeeding is the only thing that you can do, and you're failed if you haven't done it, and you're not a good mom if you don't breastfeed. I'm not like that, because like I said, I've done both, and I remember the challenges. I remember when I had to go to work. Every time my child was 3 months, I had to go back to work, and knowing how to pump and having the right pump and understanding how the pump should work and what can cause it to not work. It's just, there's a lot that goes into breastfeeding and the information. And thankfully, you know, insurance covers it more now, but there's still a lot more education that a mom needs, not education, support that mom needs, like after the baby is born as well. She needs to be able to be given the tools to succeed. And but this video really isn't about successfully breastfeeding. This video is about knowing that if you stop breastfeeding and if you go to formula, you are not, it does not mean that you are a failure or that you gave up. And I think what I really want to say is that you are not alone. There are so many of us out there that wanted to breastfeed and did everything we could to make breastfeeding work, and it didn't. And we had to go to formula, and we felt bad about it, and we had moments of like just wanting to, where you just felt like a horrible mom as you're sitting there giving a bottle in front of people who are breastfeeding, and you feel like, what did I do wrong? And no matter how hard you try and how hard you tried, you still are going to have those feelings. And I think a lot of it is because our internal, you know, desire is to breastfeed. It is to, you know, be able to feed our baby that way. But, and then of course what we see, and that's why I want my channel to be different. I want my classes, my teaching, my videos to be different, because I'm here to help you through challenges. I'm here to help educate you on breastfeeding. But I'm not here to bash formula, but I'm also here to let you know that no matter what you choose to do, it does not determine you as a mother. And you are not alone. You're not alone in your decision to breastfeed or your struggles with breastfeeding. And there's always somebody out there who's going through the exact same thing. So that's what I wanted this video to be about. I really wanted it to be just an encouraging video to you, so that anybody out there that is struggling with breastfeeding, and maybe you've stopped breastfeeding and you have gone to formula feeding, I just want you to know that you did great. You gave it your all, and that's all that matters. And you can still be proud of yourself. No matter what, you can still be proud of yourself, because, you know, you're a mom and you have this beautiful baby, and whether you ever tried breastfeeding or you didn't, you can still be proud of yourself, because you made this beautiful, you know, human being, and you get to love that child, and you can be proud of that. You can be proud of just everything it takes to be a mom and it's not easy, and you should be proud. You should be proud of yourself. It is not easy being a mother, and you know, the lack of sleep and all of those things. So just to, you know, not make this video extremely long, I just wanted to let you know that I wanted to, you know, be that support. I wanted to make this video for that reason, to let moms know that it is not giving up. It is just moving on. So that is it for this video. I do have a couple other videos that I'm wanting to record and then get up for you guys, hopefully within the next week or so. But if you are not subscribed, make sure you hit the subscribe button. I do have it on the screen. And don't forget to hit the notification bell. That way you are notified whenever I do put up videos. I don't put them up on specific days, or I don't have a specific schedule. So when you hit that notification bell, make sure that it's on all videos. Be notified of all videos put up. Then you'll be notified when I put up a video. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video.